Hey there, this is R.A. Manard, Mitrava for Monks of the Way for the weekly talk, and I believe the microphone is working now. It had not been working. So I'll give it a minute to see if the people who showed up before are going to show up again now that there's sound, or maybe they think since I tested it twice already also that it's another test and they shouldn't attend. Not sure. Well, a lot of people are going to see the video in the future, so no matter how many join, I should probably get with it. The topic today is Buddhist psychology, specifically monks of the way psychology, but there's a difference between the way people think, and the teachings of Buddha have something to do with it, with a difference in one or the other. And I say one or the other, but they're not really in opposition. There's a gradient, of course, between not knowing and knowing, and being trapped in delusion and being clear of all delusion. There's a gradient, and certainly there's not a switch to flip. Anyway, I guess I'll start with talking about the normal psychology, because you have to remember that we're conditioned creatures, our mind is, and we've inherited this monkey brain, this brain from way, way back that allowed our species to crawl out of their rocks, make tools, defend themselves against predators, all kinds of things. Gather fruit when it's ripe. So we have this monkey brain that has this very baseline way of understanding things, and we have a more developed way of understanding things also. And once again, it's not a this versus that. There's a gradient, again, a bottom to the top, an angle, let's say 45 degrees, of how critical thinking you can be. Now, I know it's not in the human nature to be completely critical thinking and not to believe things that you have no real basis for. And not a problem unless, once again, it's in your way. I've spoken about that before. If it gets in your way, it's a bad thing. But with the normal psychology, let's say between things, you're presented with things and you're going to believe they're true or false. In life, could be on Facebook, whatever. Facebook, if this is in the future, is social media. People put words and pictures down, maybe video, and then other people have a place to comment. Mostly they comment in just words, but sometimes there's pictures, things like that. Very, very, very rarely would there be a video in response to a video. Anyway, you're presented with things. If you hear things again and again, you're more often to believe them because of the way you're conditioned. You're weighing the probability of something being true instead of using critical thinking skills. What's the likelihood that this is true? Well, a lot of people are saying it. Maybe it's true. It's in this old book. Since it's old, it must be true. Since people have believed it forever and ever in this book, it must be true. An authority figure says it, it must be true. It seems to make sense to me. It must be true. It's logical. I have a logical basis for it. It must be true. Alone, these things can't make it true. There's certainly things such as specious logic where people think they're using logic and they're really not. They're not at all. So the fallibility of the human mind has to be taken into account. If you are distracted, you are more often to think something is true. The switch that you have, true versus false, whether you believe things or you won't believe things, is switched to believe everything. That's your default. So if you're distracted too much, your default is to believe it. If you are under some pressure, you're likely to believe it. If you hear it over and over, like I said, you're bound to think it's true. You're weighing it. You're weighing the possibility. I've had people say they believe in something that's going to happen in the afterlife, and because of that, they should do something or believe something. Because what if it's true? Well, without any reason to really believe it, other than you say it's true, uh, why would I take it seriously? What if it's, let's just abstract this a little bit so I don't, it doesn't seem like I'm attacking any particular religion. Let's say, you know what? A lot of people believe the color red is bad. And if I don't get rid of the color red in my life and accept the color blue as my primary color, the one I like, I'm going to be tortured in the afterlife. Somebody's going to, there's going to be a big mama that spanks me, or a big daddy figure that spanks me or burns me or tortures me in some way. Well, what if that's true? That's really awful. It's for 1,000 years, they say. Wow, that's awful. If I weigh it, well, gee, I must, just in case, I should probably adopt this belief. It might be true. I'll believe it. Oh, no, no, that's not the way it works. I could come up with a million things that people would want to believe that are preposterous, that they talk about all the time, and you could start a cult and really get some followers and some money, and ooh, I think things would really go bad on the delusional basis, no matter what, no matter who's running it, no matter who the people are in the group. But there's this difference in psychology in the Buddhist way of thinking, because he's saying don't believe things on one of those bases alone. That it should be sensible to you, but maybe it's not. It should be logical to you. Maybe it's not. Maybe you don't understand how it works. Can you believe it? Well, you can if you test it. And I'm not saying your personal experience says that it's true, once again, because you can watch a magic show and those things really didn't happen. It looked that way. So you test things. That's part of the critical thinking, is that if there's a concept that I can test it and figure out whether it's true or not. They're the basis of science. I can figure out things and get data and learn about things. And the data will, your life experience, will help you figure out things. But if you're weighing things, you're consistently going to be very random in your results. And so the Buddhist way of thinking is critical thinking. It's not just one way. It's a testing. It's an experience. And our critical thinking is away from weighing things and towards them making sense, them being reasonable. So technology has really messed with us now because we've got this explosion of fake news. And so we see all these news stories and these headlines, and they want us to click, and they want us to see an advertisement somewhere, and they want to make money. And it doesn't matter to them if it's true. To them, it's, you know what? It's on you if you believe this. Meanwhile, I'm making money. I'm not breaking the law. And so that's what has caused this whole explosion. And it's really out of hand. I spoke with someone just the other day who believed that trees talk to each other and that there's proof. Well, I don't know that trees do or don't talk to each other. I don't believe so, but I'm open to proof. So this person posted article after article that was quoting Either the one or there's two scientists they were quoting, and they weren't really, I don't want to say they weren't real scientists, but they weren't really practicing scientists, let's say, and had no real popularity until they came up with this. And they came up with that trees talk because through the network of fungus in the ground, nutrients travel through the fungus. And the trees are trying to get the nutrients. So at different times of the year, different nutrients will be abundant in one and deficient in the other, and they seem to offset each other. So that doesn't equal communication. I don't think, hearing it the way I said it, you would jump to that conclusion. But the scientist, supposedly scientist, must have had a degree, I guess. I didn't look up the guy's degree, but they did call him a scientist. But both of those guys said that they think trees talk to each other and that plants talk to each other and all this stuff. And they didn't say they think, they said it's the truth. And then if you look to more reputable news sites like the Smithsonian, which is a museum originally, they do a lot of science. They mention that there's really no basis for this, that it could be interpreted that way, but there's no reason to believe that that's true. We know what we know, and then what do we think about what we know? You know, we come from the monkey mind that used to worship the sun. It's a bright light in the sky. You can see it. It obviously makes things grow. It obviously lets people live, and it creates warmth. I mean, gee, that must be a deity. Let's worship it. Let's put our whole life around it. Let's give human sacrifices to appease it. Let's on and on. They're just in past civilization, all that stuff. We don't do it today. We've gotten better. We've bent towards the light. We've bent towards truth. Our thinking is more critical than it was. But you got to understand that conditioning yourself in a different way takes some effort. It actually takes some effort. It's not a Herculean effort. You know, it can be a slow and steady effort. But if you meditate, and I certainly think that you should, one thing you can do, which is very helpful, is take a look at your day. Take a look at the previous day if you're meditating in the morning, or if it's in the evening, the day that's already gone, and watch it, because you can't really watch it while it's happening. And hindsight, they say, is much more clear. And so look through your day and see, how was I thinking? Was I using critical thinking? Did I just feel like things were right? Did I just assume? Why did I assume? How did I end up in the places I did in that day? And of my triggers, what were they? And where did they take me? Was I measured? Was I mindful? Was I applying what I know to be true? Or did I jump when something triggered me? Anger, fear, sadness. You know, the opposite too, jubilation. You know, something got you excited. Something seemed fun. Something seemed very flattering to us. You know, whatever these things might be. Because, you know, good and bad, you can have some knee-jerk reactions and really get off the deep end. So as you look through it, as you watch it, look and try to be easy on yourself, because you are going to make mistakes. And I think you shouldn't be afraid to make mistakes. You shouldn't be afraid to take a risk, to outright be stupid. Living your life, doing you. You do you. Live your best life. Head that direction in a measured way, in a realistic way. Everybody can do that. Everybody has the capacity to do that. I've worked with people that were very retarded, had Down syndrome, things like this, to help them in their way of thinking, and they can do it. So I know the average person can do it. And there are people that have a natural aptitude, but you got to know you have to be easy on yourself, because you start out somewhere and you end up somewhere. And you're not the person today that you were when you were a kid. You're just not. And you're not going to be the same person later on. And that's okay. Who are you? Be mindful. Pay attention. Apply what's true. In the psychology of Buddhism, you're going to use critical thinking. You're going to be measured. And you're also going to learn from your experiences. Like I said, the meditation. Living in the now is certainly the thing. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't look back, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't look forward. Living in the now doesn't mean a person that, you know, has a paycheck and lives off of that blows all their money today because they're just living now today. That's not what that means at all. It means we're going to use critical thinking skills and be aware as we can. And I'm not going to tell you that you're going to be a Superman, that you can do everything right and you will have some sort of supernatural ability to plan things and memory and everything, all the skills that you think you might have. I myself, I've never been really good at spelling or math. I just have a different brain, the way I think. And it's just been that way ever since ever. As an example, I was late trying to get this video going because I left my phone somewhere and I couldn't get transportation to go get it. And I got transportation to go get it, so I drove and I got lost. Uh, Not completely lost, but lost. Couldn't find the place. And so I headed back and I came back. And when I came back, I couldn't find anything to light the candle and incense with because the lighter that I use for those things is misplaced. And then I went to go do the video and I did the whole video, and guess what? The headset didn't work. I had messed up the technology. I had plugged it into, logically it should still work, but it didn't work when I plugged it into the wrong socket in the computer. There's sockets of the same kind, and I put in a particular one and made sure it worked. And when I had put it in a different one, it didn't seem to work, so I took out one of them that didn't seem to be doing anything and was messing around with a different one. Well, to make a long story short, I had taken out the one that's even supposed to make it work. So I'm not a mastermind of doing things. I do things. I use a logical process. I used a logical process in trying to figure out which one should go where, and I figured it out. But you know, sometimes you're not going to fire on all cylinders. Sometimes it's not going to be your day. But no matter what, don't be hard on yourself, because everybody's just learning. Everybody's doing the best they know how. So if you come around and go, wow, I need to check the sources on these news stories that I want to believe that are going around, and you find out that they're false, and most of these things that you like to read are false, and you believe them. Don't knock on yourself and go, you know what? I'm stupid. I must not be able to learn. There's really something wrong with me that I can't fix. No, not the case at all. You have Buddha nature, which means that within you, inherently, just because you are you, a human, you have the basis for going farther, for bending towards the light, understanding truth. You have it. It's in you. It's described by Buddha as washing the gold. That they get gold ore. And they purify it and they purify it again and they purify it again until it just the gold is there. And once they have the gold, only then can they shape it into a useful tool. So yeah, the gold is there, but it's not like you're already enlightened and you just need to figure it out. You need to remove something that's obscuring it. It's not really like that. It's like you're full of truth and delusion, and you can discern, and you can rewire, and you can make something that you can shape into a tool. Otherwise, all you've got is the monkey mind. And I think that's the best I can describe psychology of the way very short. But I want to add just one more thing, and that's that as you're going through your day, as you're going through your life, many times you're deciding if you're going to be happy by the psychology you're using. And if you're going to go through the same experience and you're going to be outraged or you're going to be happy, you know, and there's really no difference between the outcome of the two, just in that space, that was you. Which one would you rather have? And I'm not saying that's the reason you should be happy is just to be happy. I'm saying logically it makes sense. Logically, when you use critical thinking, when you wash that gold, it's going to get better and better anyway. You're going to have more and more happiness. Any individual learning is not going to necessarily make you happy. Like I mentioned, figuring out most of the Facebook stuff that you were spending your day or your evening or whatever reading and believing and imagining about are false. You were played for a fool. Uh, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It means that you're in a certain place on the journey and you're headed there. You're headed somewhere. So, you can come to realizations about things in your life and they might not make you very happy. But on the average, in the direction, you know that it's great. You know that it's awesome. And I gotta give a shout out, say I'm really thankful to Buddha for doing this, for making that teaching. Because, he basically gave his life to help everybody, to change the world. He could have just as easily been king, been the ruler, been some astoundingly rich world merchant. He could have done anything. He could have been a warlord and taken over the world. He could have done anything he wanted to do. And what did he decide to do? Spend his life making a teaching to make the world a better place, to make us better people that makes the world a better place. Helping us, giving us that medicine to cure our sickness. That's pretty fantastic. The karma that guy had, could you imagine? Incredible. So anyway, I want to keep the video short. I don't know how long I've spoken, but it's probably been 20 minutes or more. And Buddhist psychology is a big topic, and I don't think I've really done it justice, but I think I've given a nice little outline there of a different way of thinking. And when you think this way, it's going to bend your thinking towards, let's say you go to see grandma and it's a little frustrating, it's a bother, you get to see her, you do enjoy it, but there's a bunch there. Some people will be like, I have to go see grandma, it's the right thing to do, I should enjoy this. And other people are like, I get to go see grandma. I get to be with her in her last days. I get to, talk to her about things we never talked about because it's an end of life kind of thing. And they've had all that experience that you don't have. And they're getting to see you as a person you normally instead of a grandparents. But I digress. Any questions, about Buddhist psychology or anything in particular? I'm certainly willing to take them. I'll give it a minute for that. before I end the video. Buddhist psychology is such a large topic. The way of thinking, that what's best for you makes logical sense. It's provable, it's testable, it's provable. You can practice it. It's always wise, productive, and good for everybody. That's just the universal nature of truth, and we develop along that line. Anyway, not seeing any questions, so I'm going ahead and make the video short so it's more accessible, not too daunting to watch a huge video. This is R.A. Manard for Monks of the Way. Thanks for giving it a listen, and I hope that all the best things in life can be yours. I hope that light will remove darkness as truth removes delusion in your life and the other way around. And I hope that you will take a look at the Monks of the Way stuff going forward that happens here. It's a long process of making a charity work, but I'm doing it. So, signing off, R.A. Manard, Monks of the Way. Have a great night.